Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Well, congratulations on making it to the final video series of development economics, which is called The Balance Between Markets and Intervention. And the whole purpose of this overview is just to say, hey, look, this is the final step. You've made it. You've got all this economic information in your head. And now this little 3 video series is going to give you the reorganization of those things. It's really information you already have in your head so that you can have it organized so that you can do a proper evaluation for development economics, and that goes back to any sort of economic theory. So let's take a look at this last final step in an overview way. Okay, so the basic concept, right, is you need to know the strengths and the weaknesses of the 2 main approaches to growth and development, and they are market-led strategies and interventionist strategies. And of course, they're based on the 2 schools of thought, the Keynesian model and the neoclassical model. And you can say the classical Keynesian model and the classical economic model. But those 2 things, those 2 philosophies, schools of thought, are the basis between this balance between markets and intervention. So now the only real difference is, like, this used to be a discussion in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and maybe even 60s in the world. This was a discussion that happened in the developed nations. But now because of global interconnectivity, the disagreement on these 2 schools of thought has gone global in scope. So let's take a look at an overview way of what they are. First, we'll look at market-led strategies. Then we'll look at interventionist strategies. I'm just going to do an overview manner in this video, and you can check out the 2 following videos which look at each one of those schools of thought individually. Okay, market-led strategies, what are they? Well, they're pretty straightforward, right? They are these things we've been talking about, free market policies. They're also called new classical policies or neoliberal policies. And the basic idea is that the market rules. And what does that mean? Minimize the role of government in the economy, maximize the free operation of supply and demand in the markets. It's the belief that the market is best left by itself. It's based on Adam Smith's beginning ideas and theory of capitalism, and the government should shut up and stay out of the markets and go do the governing part, which really is just to support the free markets by ensuring that there's no corruption, ensuring that there's rule of law, ensuring that property rights are honored. And therefore, you will see long-term growth. And in many ways, it's difficult and truly economic, in a truly economic way, to argue against these things. The problem is that the short-term costs for market-led strategies tend to have created a lot of pain for the rural agrarian societies and also the urban lower and middle classes. But what are the examples of this that we've talked about in development economics? Well, they're export-led growth. They are a market-led strategy would be that a country look for economic growth through foreign direct investment. It would be that to promote the privatization of nationalized what are they called, industries. It would promote deregulation. It would favor structural adjustment policies, which come forth by the IMF. And it would believe that poverty reduction strategies should come from the poverty reduction strategy papers, which is a function of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. So this is the neoclassical side of things. They believe that these things in the long run will create growth, and with growth comes development. With more money comes development. Okay, so there's an overview of the market-led strategies. In the following video, I'm going to go through these in a little bit more detail. Now, let's look at the opposite side. Well, interventionist strategies are the opposite side. This is the belief that the government should take an active role in the markets by manipulating the way that it operates. Right? You intervene. Intervene in what? The marketplace, of course. So what does that mean? Well, import substitution, protectionist trade policies, exchange rate intervention, putting up regulations, the nationalization maybe of key industries, and the government involvement in the export market. This is where the government is saying, well, the government should control these things. In certain cases, the government needs to take an active role in making sure that the markets work effectively. And the way that you do that is you intervene. And you can see how there's a logic behind this. You can talk about all the Adam Smith, real like classical view of economics, and it's true. But what happens is there's a byproduct, and one of my students called it collateral damage, which is kind of going overboard. But the collateral damage is that these people who have moved from the countryside to the cities to find a job have all of a sudden become controlled by people's decisions on whether or not they can work at the place or not. Right? The urbanization, industrialization of humanity meant that an agrarian worker whose boss used to be the decision maker on whether or not they were successful or not was the sun and the rain. And then because if they were a good farmer and worked hard, but it rained too much, well, it didn't work out. But now these urban workers go to the cities, and they can work as hard as they want, but some actual person, a human being, is making the decision that they can't work there. And when you are in a urban environment and you lose your job, whoo, baby, you don't have the chances to earn money, and you need money in order to have food. Okay, so there's the urban side of it. The other side of it is that governments from the interventionist belief say, like, hey, we just can't compete. We can't compete with the United States and the other developed nations on the planet in creating commodities or creating these things, and therefore we must intervene to protect our own people. Okay, so there's the overview of the interventionist strategies. There's an overview of the market-led strategies, and check out the next two videos that look into each one of these individually. All right, I hope you thought this video was helpful, and we'll talk to you in a bit.